Take a slow breath and imagine yourself stepping back in time. Not a loud, dramatic jump. No bright lights or magic portals spinning around you. More like a gentle slide, like you're drifting into someone else's dream that it's night in the medieval world. A world that doesn't glow with electricity or hum with engines. A world where silence actually sounds like silence. You're standing just outside a castle, and the air around you is cool, almost cold, the kind that makes your breath turn white in front of your face. A soft wind glides over the stone walls, and the old iron torches crackle as the flames fight with the breeze. Each flame dances like it has somewhere important to be, even though it's really just doing its best to stay alive. The firelight throws long shadows across the courtyard, stretching, wobbling, and shrinking again, like they're performing a quiet nighttime show. Far away, a church bell lets out a slow, heavy ring. One single note drifting across fields, forests, and tiny wooden houses. It's not the kind of sound that startles you. It's more like the world clearing its throat before bedtime. One long gong, and then everything goes still again. Inside the castle walls, things are calming down. The day had been full of noise, clanking armor, servants rushing around, animals yelling for no good reason. But now, everything is soft. Soft footsteps on stone floors. Soft whispers behind doors. Soft echoes fading down long hallways. The castle is not sleeping yet, but it's close. You step through a tall wooden doorway, the kind that looks like it's seen 1,000 years and still refuses to retire. The hinges groan, because of course they do. Medieval hinges always groan. It's their whole personality. The moment you enter, the mood changes. The temperature drops. The air becomes still and thick with the smell of melted wax and old wood. Torches line the walls of the long stone corridor, each one glowing gently, like tiny pockets of warmth trying to keep the darkness from eating the place whole. Your footsteps echo just a little. Not enough to scare you, just enough to remind you that this big stone building is listening. Medieval castles love to listen. Every whisper, every sigh, every sneeze, all stored somewhere in those cold walls forever. As you walk deeper, the day's final jobs are wrapping up. A maid is putting out candles one by one, her face lit by a small flame that flickers wildly every time she moves. A guard stretches his sore shoulders and leans on his spear, clearly ready to hand it over to the next unlucky guy. Somewhere down the hall, someone drops a bucket. It makes a loud clang. Nobody reacts. That's just normal medieval stuff. The castle feels peaceful now. Calm, like it's settling into its own bed. And this is where our story begins. Tonight, we're not chasing battles or kings or queens. We're not dealing with wars or politics or dramatic betrayals. No flaming arrows, no angry mobs, no knights running and shouting. For honor. Not tonight. Tonight, we're going to explore something quieter, stranger, and honestly, funnier. Tonight, we gently step into the strange, painful, and absolutely unbelievable grooming rituals of the Middle Ages. But don't worry, you're safe. You're only watching. You don't have to actually do any of the painful stuff. Medieval beauty routines may have been brutal, but luckily for you, you're lying in your cozy bed or sitting comfortably somewhere with snacks. Meanwhile, people centuries ago were willingly scrubbing their faces with things that would make modern dermatologists faint. As you move deeper through the corridor, think of the people who once lived inside these walls. Lords, ladies, servants, children, soldiers, all of them trying their best to look good in a world with no mirrors, no shampoo, no clean water, and no idea what skincare routine means. Imagine a medieval noblewoman waking up and thinking, maybe today I'll whiten my face with a mixture of lead and vinegar. What could go wrong? Spoiler, everything. Everything could go wrong. Or picture a medieval knight sitting by the fire, scratching his head because the lice have formed their own community and possibly a local government. And instead of a modern hairbrush, he has a comb made of bone and disappointment. But that's getting ahead of ourselves. For now, we're still walking through the castle. You reach the main hall, a massive room with a high ceiling that disappears into darkness. The only light comes from a huge fire burning in the center. The flames rise tall and bright, making the room feel warm and alive. Long shadows stretch over long wooden tables. Old tapestries hang on the walls, telling stories of battles, saints, and maybe a dragon or two. Medieval people loved adding dragons. Even when the story definitely did not need dragons, the fire crackles. Sparks lift into the air and vanish like tiny stars. You can hear the wooden logs popping, the sound echoing gently in the huge room. It's cozy in a very medieval way, warm, but also slightly smoky, slightly dusty, and slightly suspicious, like something in here may or may not be haunted. But don't worry, the ghosts are probably friendly. And if they're not, you can pretend they are. Works every time. You find a place to sit near the fire. The stone floor is cold under your feet, but the heat from the flames makes everything feel balanced, almost perfect. For a moment, you just watch the fire dance. It feels hypnotic, slow, calm. The kind of moment that makes you forget how loud and messy the world outside can be. Then, as the warmth settles around you like a blanket, the castle grows even quieter. The footsteps fade. The murmurs stop. The halls fall still. It is now deep medieval night. And with the night comes the question that will guide our entire journey. How did people in the Middle Ages try to look beautiful? And why did they go through routines that would absolutely break us today? Because trust me, they did things. Painful things. Weird things. Things you and I would never survive. Not physically, not emotionally, not spiritually. But tonight, we'll explore all of it gently. Slowly, with a soft voice, a calm rhythm, and a little humor to keep the darkness friendly. So sit back, or lie down, and let the candles burn low. Let the castle settle into its midnight breath. Let your mind drift into this old, quiet world. Our journey into medieval beauty begins now. Imagine the castle settling deeper into the night. The fire in the great hall burns low now, and the flames have stopped their wild dancing. They just sway softly, like they're getting sleepy too. The stones around you hold the warmth, and the air is calm in that special way only late-night medieval air can be. Quiet, earthy, and just a little smoky, because ventilation wasn't really a thing back then. You sit there, feeling the silence, and you start to wonder, why did medieval people go through so much pain just to look good? Why scrape, pluck, burn, pinch, cut, smear, and suffer? It wasn't just vanity. Not in their world. Not in a place where life was short, harsh, and unpredictable. Beauty, believe it or not, was a kind of survival. Let's take a slow walk through that idea. The first impression was everything in our world. You meet someone, and you have time to talk. You chat online, text, laugh, share memes. You can fix your looks with filters, makeup, or just good lighting. But in the Middle Ages, people judged you the moment they saw your face. If your skin looked too rough or unhealthy, they thought you were cursed, sick, or touched by something dark. If your hair looked messy or wild, they assumed you were poor, or worse, that you didn't care about God. And if your clothes didn't match the social level you were claiming, well, people talked out a lot. Gossip in medieval times spread faster than Wi-Fi. Beauty equals wealth equals safety. Looking attractive wasn't just about feeling nice. It told the world that you came from a good family, that you were well fed, that you had clean clothes, and that someone in your life cared enough to take care of you. If you didn't look the part, people assumed you were weak. And in those days, weakness could put a target on your back. A noble woman with pale skin meant she stayed indoors, protected and respected. A man with well-kept hair meant he belonged to a higher class. Even the way someone walked or stood told others if they were educated or important. Your appearance was like your armor, not metal armor, social armor. And if your armor looked cracked or sloppy, your chances of good marriage, safety, friendship, or support dropped fast. Marriage was everything today. People marry for love, personality, compatibility, Netflix watching habits, all that good modern stuff. Back then, marriage was survival. For most people, it was the only way to have protection, land, food, or a stable life. And because marriages were often arranged, people used beauty to show their value. A clear face said you were healthy. A smooth forehead said you had discipline. Soft hands said you lived a good life. Shiny hair said you were well cared for. Even teeth mattered. Well, sort of. If you had teeth, that was considered a win. Families would look at each other's children and basically judge their beauty stats like they were inspecting medieval RPG characters. Skin condition, acceptable or suspicious hair quality, angelic or cursed teeth. Some teeth, wonderful posture, noble or gremlin. If you scored well, your marriage prospects improved. If not, things got difficult. Beauty wasn't shallow. It was strategic. Faith and beauty were connected in a world surrounded by illness and superstition. People believed that looking beautiful meant you were favored by God. If your face looked pure, they thought your soul was pure. That if your skin was smooth, they believed you had good morals. If you looked messy, unhealthy, or rough, well, they assumed you were spiritually questionable. Imagine having a bad hair day and people suddenly thinking you're possessed. That was medieval logic for you. Because of these beliefs, grooming wasn't just a personal choice, it was a moral duty. People genuinely thought they needed to look clean and calm so others wouldn't assume they were sinful or dangerous. And yes, that led to some very painful beauty routines. Beauty helped you get respect. Think of medieval beauty as a kind of social password. If you looked the part, people treated you better. You got better deals at markets, safer treatment by guards, respect from neighbors, trust from strangers, comfort from your community. Looking rough or unkempt made people suspicious. They might keep their distance or deny you help. In a world without social services, every bit of respect counted. Imagine walking into a medieval town looking tired or messy. People might whisper, "He hasn't washed. Something must be wrong. She looks too brown. She must work outside with peasants. He has messy hair. He must be a thief." Harsh. Yes, but very real. Beauty was a way to climb up the ladder for many. Beauty was the only way out of poverty. If a poor woman looked attractive enough, she could marry someone stronger and safer. If a young man kept himself presentable, he might earn a place as a servant in a noble house, or even as a squire. Appearance opened doors. Or kept them closed. So, people used every strange method they knew. Herbs, powders, painful tools, bad-smelling potions, hoping for even a small improvement. If someone told them, "Rub this weird paste on your face, it will make you look noble," they would try it. Even if the paste smelled like sadness and old socks, they didn't really have a choice. Remember, mirrors were rare. Most people didn't even know exactly what they looked like. They had to trust what others said. If the local herbalist said, "Honey, your forehead is too low. It must be raised," well, then you shaved your hairline back. Because how would you argue? You've never truly seen your own forehead anyway. Imagine trusting other people to describe your face. Scary idea, but that was normal then. Beauty was their version of hope. Life in medieval times was full of danger, illness, war, hunger, accidents. People didn't have much control. But beauty? Grooming? Clothes? These were small things they could control. A little powder on the face. A ribbon in the hair. A clean tunic. These small acts made them feel human in a world that could be cold and cruel. Beauty wasn't just survival. It was comfort. A tiny taste of peace. And maybe that's why they took it so seriously. The fire crackles softly again. The castle is almost fully asleep. And now that you understand why beauty mattered so much, you'll be ready for what comes next. Because in the next chapters, we look at how they actually tried to stay beautiful. And trust me, some of their methods will make your eyebrows fly off your face. The castle is now deep into the night. Most candles are gone, leaving only a few sleepy flames clinging to the walls. The air feels cooler, heavier, and a little damp, like the stones themselves are exhaling. Somewhere far down a hallway, water drips. One drop, then silence, then another drop. A slow rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. And this tiny sound brings us to one of the strangest parts of medieval life. People back then were scared of water. Not, "I don't like swimming" scared. Not, "The shower is a bit cold" scared. No. Proper fear, like the kind you feel when you hear something move behind you in the dark. To them, water, especially warm water, was suspicious. So tonight, we enter the world of medieval cleanliness, or, well, medieval attempts at cleanliness. Bathing was dangerous. Apparently picture a medieval doctor, long robe, serious face, maybe holding a book he definitely didn't read fully. He tells people, "Warm water opens your pores. If your pores open, sickness gets inside." And boom, everyone believed it. Just imagine explaining modern spa days to them. Hot water? Steam rooms? Saunas? They would faint on the spot. To them, a warm bath was like inviting every illness in town to walk right into your body and set up camp. The idea of relaxing in hot water sounded like madness. Most people avoided bathing unless it was absolutely necessary. And sometimes not even then. The medieval no bath, but of course, they still wanted to stay clean. or at least look like they tried to SO instead of bathing. They invented their own strange system of dry cleaning the human body. And no, it was not cute. Here's how it went. Step 1. Vinegar wipe. Take a linen cloth. Dip it in vinegar. Rub it all over your face and body. Did it smell good? No. It smelled like someone tried to clean a salad. But vinegar was seen as safe. It protected you from illness. And if your skin burned a little, they thought that meant it was working. Step 2. Scrubbing with herbs. Sometimes they used rosemary, mint, sage, or lavender. Sounds fancy, right? No. They weren't doing spa aromatherapy. They were trying to mask other smells. Imagine rubbing mint leaves on your armpits and calling it a day. That was medieval deodorant. Step 3. Powder. They used flour, chalk dust, ground roses, or crushed herbs to made the skin look fresh. It also made the skin dry, itchy, and probably ready to fall off. But hey, priorities. Clean clothes equals clean body. In that era, people believed if your clothes were clean, you were clean. So instead of cleaning their bodies, they cleaned their shirts. Or cleaned them. They didn't wash clothes very often either, because again, water was the enemy. But they did air them out in the sun, beat them with wooden sticks, and shake them like their lives depended on it. Sometimes this actually did remove dirt. Most times, it just annoyed the dirt. Bathhouses. The forbidden temptation. Now, here's the funny part. Even though people feared water, they also loved bathhouses. Humans are confusing. Medieval humans? Even more confusing. Bathhouses were warm, cozy, full of steam, gossip, snacks, and sometimes, let's just say, extra services. You could soak in hot herbal water, chat with your friends, and pretend life wasn't hard to yes. People liked them a bit too much, which meant church leaders were not fans. They saw bathhouses as sinful, dangerous, places where temptation grows. Basically medieval nightclubs. So many laws were made to shut them down or control them. And when disease started spreading, bathhouses were blamed immediately. Did the bathhouses cause disease? No. Did medieval people believe they did? Absolutely. So, bathhouses slowly disappeared. And with them, the idea of normal bathing. The royal and noble exceptions, of course. Rich people were different. They lived by the rule. If it feels good, it must be allowed. Nobles sometimes bathed in special wooden tubs brought into their rooms. Servants heated water in giant pots, carried them up many stairs, poor guys, and poured them into the tub. Then, nobles added herbs, flower, petals, milk, honey. Honestly, medieval nobles were doing luxury spa baths before spas existed. But they still didn't bathe often. A few times a year, if they felt wild. The fear of cold water. Too cold water wasn't trusted either. It was seen as shocking to the body. Imagine someone taking a cold shower today. Amazing. Refreshing. Now imagine a medieval person watching that. They would think you're trying to summon a demon. Cold water was believed to cause sickness too. Basically, hot water equals pores open. Danger. Cold water equals shock to the heart. Danger. So, what water was safe? None. Apparently none. The smell problem. Let's be honest that if people rarely bathed, they smelled. And not just, I skipped deodorant today smell. More like, smoke, sweat, and Emily's leather-oiled wood onion soup, life is hard, combined together in one powerful scent. How did they deal with it? Perfumes. Tons of perfumes. So many perfumes. It's a miracle the air wasn't flammable. People carried scented bags, wore perfumed gloves, burned herbs, and sprinkled rose water on everything. Did it work? Not really, but it helped them. Pretend. The medieval logic behind all this. Here's the thing. They weren't stupid. They simply lived in a world without germ theory. They didn't know bacteria existed. They believed smells carried disease. They believed pores were gateways. They believed water changed your humors, the body fluids they thought controlled your health. And honestly, in a world filled with epidemics, fear made sense. They just didn't know what to fear. So they feared water. Yet, they tried their best even without water. They worked hard to stay clean. They scrubbed with dry cloths, used herbs, changed clothes often, or as often as they could, combated lice and fleas, daily brushed teeth in very questionable ways, perfumed everything in sight. They weren't dirty because they wanted to be. They were dirty because their world made cleanliness difficult. And in their own way, they had a system. A strange system, a smelly system. But a system. The night deepens. The castle walls feel colder. A torch flickers and almost goes out, then catches the flame again. like it changed its mind about dying tonight that we've seen why bathing was rare. Now we move towards something even more painful, even more surprising. Medieval hair care. Because if you think avoiding water was strange, wait until you hear what they did to their hair. The night grows colder. A thin breeze slides through the castle halls, slipping under doors and brushing past old tapestries. Somewhere in the dark, a torch crackles like it's whispering secrets. The stone floor is cool under your feet, and the shadows feel thicker now, but softer too, like they've settled in for the night. You move closer to the dying fire, letting its warmth touch your hands, and maybe your heart a little. The castle is silent except for the small sounds, the kind that make the night feel alive, not scary. And in this calm darkness, we turn to something medieval people cared about deeply. Hair. Not just style, not just beauty. Hair, survival, identity, pride, and sometimes pure pain. Because medieval hair care, it hurt. And tonight, we're stepping right into that world. Everyone had lice. Everyone. Let's start with the truth that medieval people did not want to talk about. Almost everybody had lice. Rich, poor, knights, ladies. Even the person who wrote fancy poetry had a little bug family living up there. Lice were basically medieval roommates. Very clingy roommates. They didn't care who you were or how important you thought you were. They loved everyone equally. Honestly, lice were probably the most democratic thing in the Middle Ages. Because water wasn't used much and hair was rarely washed, lice had paradise. Warm hair, lots of places to hide, no shampoo police coming after them, and medieval people tried everything to fight them. Everything. Nitpicking. The most unwanted love language. Imagine sitting by the fire. The room is quiet. People are relaxing, and someone says, "Come here. Let me pick the lice out of your hair." Romantic, right? Surprisingly. Yes. Nitpicking was a bonding activity. A sign of care. Family members did it for each other. Lovers did it. Mothers did it for their children. Servants did it for nobles. Was it gross? Absolutely. But back then, it was normal, and it was necessary. They used small combs, fingers, and sometimes warm oil to loosen the bugs. They would sit for hours, chatting, humming, telling stories, while picking tiny eggs from each strand. In today's world, we buy expensive shampoos. In the medieval world, you bought time, patience, and courage. Shampoos made from everything. Medieval shampoo was never simple. You didn't go to a shop and choose something that said for silky shine or for dry scalp. Nope, you made it yourself, which meant you used whatever ingredients you had around. And medieval homes always had interesting things. Common shampoo mixtures included boiled herb sachets, vinegar, linimol, fat, crushed flowers, and sometimes, yes, dirt. Was the smell good? Not always. But the mixtures did clean the hair a little, and sometimes made it shiny, and sometimes made it fall out. It was a gamble every time. Imagine washing your hair thinking, "I hope this doesn't melt my scalp today." That was medieval hair care. Brushing hair. A war with nature. Brushing hair wasn't gentle either. Their combs were made of bone, horn, or wood. They weren't smooth. They weren't polished. They weren't detangling miracle combs. They were basically small weapons. Pulling, ripping, scratching. Every brushing was a battle, and your scalp was the battlefield. But brushing was important. It removed lice, dirt, and whatever else lived in there. So people did it daily. The sound of brushing in medieval homes was constant. Scrape, scrape, rip, sigh, scrape, but it kept hair alive. Somehow. Hair oil. The only soft part. Some people used oil to keep hair smooth. Olive oil, almond oil, or animal fat if they were poor. Yes, animal fat. Was it glamorous? Not really. Did it work? Kinda. It made hair shinier. It made lice slide off easier. It made you smell like a medieval kitchen. But hey, small wins. Men's hair. A symbol of pride. Medieval men took their hair seriously. Very seriously. Knights, soldiers, monks, farmers, all had their own style rules. Long hair often meant power or honor. Short hair sometimes meant discipline or religious duty. But no matter the style, keeping it neat was a challenge. Men didn't have barbers like today. They had knives, sharp knives, blunt knives, knives that probably cut bread earlier in the day. Imagine trimming your bangs with a knife used to cut meat 2 hours ago. That was normal. Shaving was worse. Their razors were made of iron, not steel, and they were rarely sharp. Every shave was a mix of bravery, stubbornness, and bad decisions. But men did it because hair carried meaning. And in a world where your life could change overnight, identity mattered. Women's hair, a source of beauty and power. Women's hair was even more important. Long, shiny hair was seen as a symbol of health, purity, and status, but long hair meant more brushing, more oil, more lice, more pain. Women spent hours caring for their hair. They braided it, wrapped it, perfumed it, and covered it when needed. Some styles were so tight they probably caused headaches for hours. Still, a woman with beautiful hair could gain admiration, respect, even marriage offers. They endured the suffering. Medieval beauty always came with pain. The lice comb ritual. Imagine this nightly routine. The fire crackles, someone sits on a stool, another person stands behind them with a lice comb, and the ritual begins. The comb drags through the hair, slow, firm. Sometimes it pulls too hard, sometimes it snags, sometimes someone yelps, ow. But they keep going, because this was part of life, and honestly, it gave medieval people a strange kind of peace. The act was simple, the moment was quiet, the bond was real. Even if the topic was, well, bugs. Hair washing day. The big event because washing hair wasn't common. The days when it did happen were a big deal. People brought pots of hot water, herbs, wooden bowls, towels, rough ones. Their strongest courage. Hair washing day felt like preparing for battle. Someone poured warm water over your head. Someone else rubbed herbs into your scalp. Another person poured vinegar to seal the pores. Did it feel good? Sometimes yes. Sometimes it felt like your scalp was being roasted for dinner. But afterward, your hair felt lighter, cleaner, and a little shinier. Maybe even soft. It was worth it. Sometimes. A world without mirrors. One more thing. Most people didn't know what their hair actually looked like. Mirrors were rare. Shiny metal was blurry. Water reflections depended on luck. Medieval people lived with blind trust. If someone said, your hair looks fine, you believed them completely. Imagine living like that today. No selfies, no mirrors, no checking your hair every 5 minutes. Just faith. Beautiful, terrifying faith. The fire next to you collapses softly as another log falls inward. Sparks rise up and fade. The hall feels warmer now, as if the old stones enjoyed the story too. We've seen the pain of medieval hair care. Now we turn to something even more shocking, medieval makeup. The stuff they put on their faces could pretty much kill you. Settle in, because this chapter, yeah, it stings. Literally, the night inside the old medieval castle feels cooler now. The stone walls have fully relaxed into silence, and the soft glow of a torch dances across the floor, painting slow-moving shadows. You can almost hear the wind brushing past narrow windows, whispering secrets of what people once did, all in the name of beauty. And trust me, some of these secrets hurt. Tonight, we open the door to something that would make even the bravest knight quietly say, I'll pass. Because medieval hair removal was not just a routine. It was a battle. The medieval idea of smooth skin, let's be honest. Today, if someone wants smooth skin, they go for waxing, shaving, lasers, quick and clean. Painful sometimes, sure, but controlled. In the Middle Ages, smooth skin wasn't a casual choice. It was a symbol, a marker of status. Rich women especially were expected to look clean, polished, and delicate, even when the world around them smelled like a mix of smoke, sweat, animals, and old soup. But the tools they used for hair removal? Oh, you're not ready. Weapon number 1. The sharpest knife they could find. No razors, no fancy blades, just a basic knife. Women, and sometimes men, would heat the blade a little over a candle flame. Not to sanitize it. No, that idea didn't exist yet. They did it to soften the metal or make it glide a little easier. Then they would scrape light strokes across the skin, slow, careful, and honestly a bit terrifying. Imagine trying to shave your eyebrows, or upper lip, or legs with a slightly warm kitchen knife in a dimly lit room, with shaky hands, and absolutely zero medical knowledge. One slip, and goodbye eyebrow. Though disappearing eyebrows were actually fashionable. But we'll save that for another chapter. Weapon number 2. A mixture that shouldn't exist if the knife didn't work, or if someone was brave enough to try a chemical method. There was a homemade paste. Ingredients included vinegar, quicklime, arsenic, satan, sometimes cat feces. This mixture was smeared onto the skin and left until the person felt a burn. And not the good, warm kind of burn. The I might be destroying my arm kind of burn. The goal? to weaken hair at the root so it could be scraped off. The result? Red skin, rashes, blisters, and a smell that would make a grown man quietly leave the room. But back then, looking smooth mattered more than comfort. Eyebrows. Let's make things worse. Here's where things get funnier. In many parts of medieval Europe, the perfect beauty included having almost no eyebrows and a huge forehead. A long forehead meant intelligence, elegance, and purity. So people removed not just eyebrow hair, but sometimes the entire front row of hair on the scalp, using the knife or that burning paste or both. Imagine waking up, stretching, yawning, and then casually scraping half your forehead bald, all to look smart. Today, we raise eyebrows. Back then, they removed theirs. Weapon number 3. The threading technique that was not gentle threading existed long before salons. But the medieval version was not the smooth, professional, "Ma'am, please look up," kind we know today. It was rough, rushed, and painful. Women would twist a coarse thread, made from wool or raw hemp, and drag it across their skin, ripping out tiny hairs and chaotic lines. The mirror, soft cotton thread, technique. Just a friend or maid holding a candle and saying, "Hold still. I think this is working." Half of the session was pain. The other half was pure guesswork. Medieval men were not safe either if you think it was only women suffering. Nope. Men also joined the torture, especially nobles who wanted to look sharp and clean. But remember, they couldn't grow perfect beards on purpose. If you had patches, scars, or uneven growth, people judged you. And because shaving properly was nearly impossible, many men used pumice stones. Fish skinner dull blodesto scrape their faces every morning. Imagine rubbing your cheeks with a rock until hair eventually gave up and fell out. That's dedication, and also madness. Why did they do this? Beauty standards are always changing. What seems strange today might have been normal centuries ago. Back then, looking clean and smooth made you look wealthy, strong, pure, respectable, and people would go through extreme discomfort just to fit into society's image of beauty. Honestly, not much has changed. Only now, our tools are safer and don't involve burning chemicals or cat poop. Hopefully, the soft ending, as we leave Chapter 5. Picture those dimly lit chambers again. Women sitting by a warm fire, carefully scraping hair from their skin with tiny knives, or applying strange-smelling pastes while whispering prayers that their eyebrows would still be there tomorrow, or men scraping their faces with stones until they were raw and smooth. The torches flicker, the night air cools. And these strangely brave medieval people continue their painful routines, all in silence. Their world was harsh. Their rituals were brutal, but their dedication? Unshakable. Take a slow breath. Let the fire crackle softly in your mind. And rest, knowing you live in a time where beauty doesn't require a knife and a prayer. The castle night grows quieter now, a softer quiet, the kind that settles deep into the stone, like the building itself has decided to sleep, that a torch hums faintly along the hallway. And somewhere far off, a guard shifts his weight, armor clinking gently in the dark. And here we are, stepping into another strange part of medieval beauty. Tonight, we talk about something every human deals with, something universal, something that medieval people fought with more determination than knights on a battlefield: body odor. Yeah? Chapter 6 is all about the smell of the Middle Ages. And trust me, this one's a journey to a world without showers. Let's just start strong. There were no showers, no deodorant sticks, no fragrant soaps lined up on a bathroom shelf. Baths did exist, but taking one regularly? That was rare. Super rare. Like, maybe once a month. Rare for most people. The first challenge. People smelled a lot. And since beauty in medieval times also meant smelling pleasant, or at least not dangerous, they had to get creative. And by creative, I mean weird. Medieval deodorant, herbs, oils, and hope most nobles, who had time to care about grooming, used herbs. They would rub fresh leaves on their skin. Rosemary, sage, mint, lavender. Sounds nice, right? Wait until we get to the next parts. These herbs weren't just for smell. People believed they also protected the body from diseases, kind of a two-in-one deal. Smell nice and keep evil spirits away. But the real problem? Herbs only worked if you were standing still. The moment you climbed a staircase or walked across a bustling hall, nature took over again. They added oils. Almond oil, olive oil, rose oil. A thin layer to mask sweat. But the oils attracted dirt, dust, and sometimes insects so you ended up smelling like a flower who had been rolled across a barn floor. Still, better than nothing. The strange sweat absorbers some medieval solutions were just chaotic. Ladies would stitch small bags filled with flowers or crushed herbs and tuck them inside their dresses, right under the armpits. Yes, herbal armpit bags. They basically walked around all day with tiny scent pillows stuck inside their clothing like medieval air fresheners. Did it work? Kind of. Did it also create sweaty, mushy, squished plant goo by the end of the day? Absolutely. Powders and peasants-rich people had options. Poor people? Not so much. That if you were a peasant, chances are you worked all day in fields, around animals, near smoke and sweat and dirt. Bathing was often impossible. So your beauty routine was wipe your face with a damp cloth, maybe comb your hair, hope for the best. Sometimes they dusted themselves with flour or ground chalk to absorb sweat. Imagine patting your armpits with baking flour before heading out to work and then sweating. Yeah, it became dough. The medieval perfume emergency perfumes existed, but they were expensive, super expensive. Most were made from ambergris, musk, rose oil, or herbs soaked in alcohol. Nobles carried perfume-soaked cloths or little metal balls called pomanders, tiny round cases filled with strong scents. And when someone particularly smelly walked past them, nobles would casually raise the pomander to their nose like, no offense, but absolutely not. It was basically the medieval version of turning your face away politely. When cleanliness was suspicious, here's the weirdest twist that in some periods of the Middle Ages, especially around the time of the Black Death, people were told that opening the pores was dangerous. Baths were said to let illness slip into your body. Smelling clean actually made you look risky. People preferred being filthy because they believed dirt protected them. Imagine someone saying, "You smell really good today," and the other person replying, "Thank you. I'm terrified." Beauty was strange back then. Very strange. Clothing. The first line of defense since bodies weren't washed much. Clothes took the hit. Undergarments were washed more often than people's actual skin. Linen shirts, shifts, and chemises soaked up sweat like medieval sponges. People changed these more than they bathed. Technically, their clothes got cleaned. Their bodies, not so much. That a noble might smell like lavender and old sweat, that a peasant might smell like hay, soil, and survival. But both were just doing their best. Medieval indoor smells. Let's add another layer. Castles and houses had animals inside, straw floors, smoke, human sweat, damp stone, mold, cooked meat stew that had been reheated for 4 days. So even if someone did smell nice, within 10 minutes of walking around, the environment took over. Beauty was not just a routine. It was a fight against the world itself. A soft ending. As the chapter closes, picture a noble lady brushing crushed rosemary under her arms, adjusting little bags of herbs sewn into her dress, trying to look elegant while hoping no one notices the sweat stains forming under her expensive sleeves. Or imagine a peasant finishing a long day of work, wiping his face with a cloth, exhaling deeply, and thinking, well, at least I'm alive. And as you picture them, the castle grows quiet again. The torches flicker gently. A cool draft moves through the hallways. And somewhere in the dark, someone tucks a lavender sachet under their shirt and prays it lasts until morning. Take a slow breath. The night is calm. The smells of the medieval world fade into silence. The castle night deepens now. Everything feels slower, softer, like the world is exhaling. A gentle draft slips through the cracks of the stone walls, carrying the faint scent of old wood, wax, and something sweet left over from the feast hours ago. You settle in closer, breathing easy. And now we move into one of the strangest corners of medieval beauty. The face. Specifically, what they put on it. Because medieval makeup wasn't just makeup. It was a cocktail of strange ideas, dangerous ingredients, and beauty standards that would absolutely break us today. Tonight, we take a calm walk through their facial rituals. And trust me, your modern skincare routine will feel like a blessing after this. The medieval dream. White, pale, ghost-level skin. If you think today's beauty standards are dramatic, the Middle Ages said, hold my goblet. The ideal medieval face was extremely pale, snowy, moon-like. The kind of pale that made you look like you hadn't seen the sun since you were born. Why? Because pale skin meant you didn't work outside. It meant you were rich, gentle, soft, untouched by the harshness of the world. Basically, if you looked slightly undead, congratulations, you were gorgeous. But sunlight wasn't easy to avoid, so people created solutions. Solution number 1. The white paste of doom to lighten their skin. Many women, and some men, used a white cosmetic paste made from lead-concoctions, sometimes mercury, yes, lead and mercury, on your face. They didn't know those were poisonous. To them, it was just a bright, pretty cream that made them look fashionable. They spread it over their cheeks, forehead, chin, let it dry, and walked around shining like pale statues. But this paste came with a cost. Head coverings. More important than you think. Most women, especially married ones, covered their hair in public. Veils, wimples, hennins, the tall cone hats, linen wraps, embroidered cloths. These weren't just fashion. They were symbols of status, modesty, and respectability. In some places, showing your hair openly was considered shocking, almost scandalous. Hair wasn't just hair. It was identity. Hair lice. A universal medieval problem. Hair lice were everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. Rich or poor, nobody escaped it. So people used fine combs, vinegar solutions, shaved patches, herbal rinses, or hours spent picking lice out by hand. Lice were so common that sitting together and picking them out was a bonding activity. Romantic? No, effective. Sometimes. Why hair was so important? Hair meant beauty. Hair meant social class. Hair meant purity or power. Hair meant everything. And despite the painful methods, the strange mixtures, and the questionable hygiene, medieval people put real effort into caring for it. It was one of the few ways they could control how they looked in a rough and unpredictable world. A soft ending. Picture it now. A noble lady sitting beside a candle as her maid carefully braids long, heavy strands of hair. A young squire trimming his beard with a slightly dull knife before his first feast. A peasant woman combing her daughter's hair near the fire, humming softly while sparks drift upward. A castle girl rinsing her hair with rosemary water, hoping it smells better by morning. The night outside is calm. The torches glow warmly. The stone walls hold the quiet gently. Let your breath slow. Let the scene settle in your mind and drift in the softness of this medieval night. The castle has grown very quiet now, that deep, late-night quiet where even the torches seem to burn slower, softer, like they're getting sleepy too. The stone floors have cooled, the long halls are still, and you can almost hear the soft whisper of fabric as someone moves far away in the dark. This is the perfect moment to step into another strange corner of medieval beauty. Their nails. Yep, tonight we're talking about medieval nail care, which was far from gentle, far from clean, and honestly far from normal. If you think biting your nails is bad, wait till you hear what they did. Nails meant more than you think in the Middle Ages. Your nails actually revealed a lot about you. Clean, trimmed nails meant status, wealth, a life of comfort, no hard labor. Dirty, cracked, broken nails meant you worked in fields, kitchens, barns, or workshops. So if you were noble, you had to maintain your nails. But nail salons didn't exist. Nail files did, kind of, and tools were sharp, dangerous, and sometimes just made the problem worse. The nail tools. Basic and brutal. Most people used whatever they had. Tiny knives, sewing needles, rough stones, bits of metal teeth. Yes, really. There were no clippers, no smooth files, no buffers. Just scraping, cutting, and hoping for the best. Imagine trimming your nails with a knife by candlelight. One wrong move, and suddenly your beauty routine becomes a hand injury. The wealthy had manicure sets. Two noble women sometimes owned special grooming sets that included small iron scissors, metal scrapers, tiny picks for cleaning under the nail, pumice stones. They kept these in delicate wooden or leather cases. Fancy on the outside, medieval torture on the inside. Servants or attendants often helped nobles clean their nails. And if you think that was a calm, spa-like experience, no, it was more like, hold still, my lady, this might sting a little. And it always stung. Cleaning nails, the never-ending struggle. Remember, medieval life was dirty. There were animals everywhere. People touched wood, stone, dirt, metal, fabric, food, coal, basically everything. Nails trapped all kinds of, let's say, mystery substances. So medieval people cleaned their nails more often than the rest of their bodies. Common cleaning methods included scraping dirt out with a tiny knife, soaking fingertips in warm wine, rubbing nails with salt, wiping hands with vinegar-soaked cloth using leftover bread crust as a scrub. Yes, bread again. Imagine sitting at a feast and using your bread like a portable hand sanitizer. Coloring the nails. Yes, they did that too, believe it or not. Some medieval cultures actually tinted their nails. Not full-on nail polish like today, but gentle coloring using crushed berry saffron rose petals, ground roots, charcoal, mixed with animal fat. The result was a faint tint. Reds, yellows, browns. It was subtle but intentional. However, nail color also had meaning. Red tinted nails could symbolize beauty and softness. Darkened nails sometimes represented mourning. Golden tones showed wealth, and some just did it because it looked nice. People in every era liked a little glam. The peasant nail reality. Peasants didn't worry about nail beauty much. They were too busy surviving. Their nails were cracked or dirty, often chipped and sometimes injured. They used their hands for everything. Hauling wood, cutting food, cleaning animals, tying ropes, weaving, digging. Beauty wasn't the priority, but health was. So they trimmed their nails only when they got too long and dangerous, using teeth. Or a knife. Or by just breaking them off. No creams. No oils. Nothing fancy. Just survival. Nail perfume? Yes, that was real for nobles who wanted their hands to smell pleasant. They rubbed scented oils onto their nails. Rose oil, lavender oil, almond oil, myrtle water, not for shine, but for the scent. Hands were visible during greetings and feasts, so scented nails were a quiet sign of refinement. Imagine shaking hands with someone and their nails smell better than your entire life. Nail disease and danger because tools were rough and hygiene wasn't great. Nail infections were common. Swelling, redness, painful nail beds, nails falling off. Doctors had very little understanding of germs. So treatments were things like applying hot vinegar, putting garlic paste on the nail, wrapping it with wool. Praying. In fairness, sometimes these did help. Sometimes. Nail length rules. Medieval society had opinions about everything, including nail length. Short nails equals clean, noble. Refined long nails equals dirty, lazy, suspicious. Long nails on a man. People whispered. Long nails on a woman? Only acceptable if she didn't work at all. So most nobles kept their nails short and smooth. Or tried to. At least. A soft ending. Picture it now. A noble woman sitting by her dim candle as her maid carefully scrapes dirt from under her nails with a tiny iron tool. A knight trimming his nails with a knife before attending a royal feast. A peasant breaking a chipped nail off with a quick, practiced motion before returning to the fields. A young girl coloring her fingertips with crushed strawberries, giggling quietly in a warm kitchen. The night is still. The torches flicker slowly, and hands, rough or soft, noble or simple, go through their nightly rituals in the castle's quiet glow. Take a slow breath. Let the scene relax your mind and drift deeper into this medieval night. The castle is deep in its nighttime hush now. That soft, sleepy silence where the stone corridors feel colder, the torches burn low, and every tiny sound echoes just a little too clearly. Somewhere, a door creaks. A draft slides under a wooden frame, and you take a breath, settling deeper into the calm. Now we step into one of the most shocking parts of medieval grooming. Their teeth. Just prepare yourself, because medieval dental care makes everything before this look like luxury spa treatment. Let's take a gentle, slow walk into a world without toothbrushes, toothpaste, or dentists as we know them. Medieval smiles. Not as bad as you think. At first, here's the twist. Early medieval people actually had better teeth than many people expect. Why? No sugary sodas, no candy, no processed food, no constant snacking. Their diets were simple. Bread, grains, meat, vegetables. So early on, their teeth were surprisingly decent. But then things changed. By the late Middle Ages, sugar entered Europe. And when sugar arrived, so did cavities, fast, and nobody knew how to stop it. The toothbrush, a rag, a stick, and hope. Medieval people didn't have toothbrushes, but they did clean their teeth in their own strange ways. The most common method? A rough cloth. People wrapped a piece of fabric around their finger and rubbed their teeth clean. They also used sticks with frayed in small twigs dipped in water, bits of linen soaked in wine, or a scraped goose feather. Yes, a feather. Imagine brushing your teeth with a feather. Elegant, but totally useless. Still, people tried. Medieval toothpaste. You don't want this. Their tooth cleaning powders were wild. Ingredients included crushed salt, mint leaves, ground sage, vinegar, ash, powdered cloves, charcoal, and sometimes Ground up oyster shells, yes. They rubbed powdered shells onto their teeth. This worked like sandpaper. It removed stains and also enamel. Imagine whitening your teeth by shaving them down a little each time. Yeah, that's medieval toothpaste. Bad breath. A serious problem without real brushing. Bad breath was a huge issue. People fought it with parsley, mint, fennel seeds, chewing cloves, rinsing with wine, or holding herbs in their mouths like tiny breath mints. But the real cause, gum disease, couldn't be fixed. Medieval bad breath wasn't just oops, garlic bread. It was deep, long-term, unstoppable. Toothaches. The medieval nightmare. If someone got a toothache in medieval times, life became miserable. There were no painkillers to no root canals to no fillings to so people used warm vinegar, rinses, clove oil, which actually works a little, garlic paste, herbal compresses, prayer charm, sand occasionally, magic spell, and bloodletting. Yes, really. If none of that helped, well, then came the big solution. The tooth puller. A job you never wanted. Medieval dentistry was usually done by a barber, a blacksmith, a traveling tooth drawer, or just someone with strong hands. These people had no training, just tools and confidence. And the tools? Metal pliers, iron hooks, stonks, knives. There were no numbing agents, no antiseptic, no comfort. You sat down, gripped the chair, and prayed. Sometimes the tooth came out. Sometimes part of your jaw came with it. Sometimes the barber missed entirely. Medieval dental care was basically, if it hurts, rip it out. Teeth whitening. Medieval style, yes. They tried to whiten their teeth too. But their methods? Rubbing teeth with charcoal, polishing with chalk, applying vinegar, mixtures, rubbing sage ashes on enamel, occasionally rubbing honey, which made things worse. Some nobles even tried urine-based whitening, believing it brightened teeth. And, technically it does, but still no thank you. False teeth. Shockingly real, it might surprise you. But medieval false teeth did exist. They could be made from animal bones, carved wood of warrior. Teeth taken from another person, usually dead, but they weren't glued in like modern dentures. They were tied in with string or metal wire. Imagine trying to eat with wooden teeth tied to your real ones. One wrong bite, and you've created a medieval jump scare. Gum disease. The silent destroyer. Since toothbrushes didn't exist, gum disease was everywhere. People had swollen gums, bleeding, loose teeth, infections, abscesses, rotten breath, teeth falling out, and they had no way to stop it. Some used honey mixed with herbs. Ironically, honey made gum problems worse, but they didn't know that. The wealthy were sometimes worse off. Ironically, rich nobles often had the worst teeth. Why? They ate more sugar, honey, pastry, wines, so their teeth decayed faster. Meanwhile, peasants, who ate tough bread and simple vegetables, had stronger teeth for longer. Sometimes being rich doesn't help. Why teeth mattered in beauty. A clean, healthy smile meant good hygiene, wealth, confidence, respectability. Rotten teeth were considered unattractive, scary, or a sign of illness. So people really tried, with rags, herbs, powders, anything they had, to maintain their smiles, even when it hurt, even when it caused more damage. Beauty always comes with effort. In the Middle Ages, it came with a lot of pain. A soft ending. Picture it now. A noble lady gently rubbing her teeth with a linen cloth dipped in mint water. A young man chewing parsley before meeting someone important. A peasant rinsing their mouth with wine after a long day. A barber sharpening his iron tools before pulling a tooth at dawn. The night is calm. The torches flicker low. And in small rooms across the castle, people prepare their smiles the only way they knew how. Take a slow breath. Let the medieval world settle softly around you. And feel grateful for your toothpaste. The castle is quiet again. The night outside feels still, like the world is holding its breath. A faint draft slips through the cracks in the window shutters, carrying the smell of cold stone and wood smoke. Inside your mind, you drift further into this strange world, a place where even skincare was a battlefield of bravery, or maybe foolishness. Tonight, we're talking about medieval skincare. Yes, skincare. The Middle Ages had routines that would make your modern moisturizer cry. Let's ease into it. The soft skin obsession. You might imagine medieval people just letting life happen to their skin. Wind, dirt, no face wash, no sunscreen, just vibes. But no, many people, especially in wealthy households, wanted soft, light, and spotless skin. Pale skin was considered beautiful because it showed you didn't work outside in the sun. The goal: look soft, look smooth, Look like a ghost who drinks milk for breakfast. Simple, right? Absolutely not. Lead. The beauty secret that could kill you. Let's start with the most dramatic. Lead-based creams. Women, and sometimes men, used powders and pastes made from white lead to lighten their skin. It covered scars, blemishes, and redness, but it also slowly poisoned them. Imagine a lady looking in her polished metal mirror thinking, "Wow, my skin is glowing," while her actual body is whispering, "Please stop. I'm begging you." Side effects included hair loss, muscle weakness, headache, skin peeling, and occasionally death, all for smooth skin. That is dedication. Or delusion. Maybe both. But hey, in the Middle Ages, beauty was serious business. Egg whites. The medieval facelift. Next on the list, someone in medieval Europe cracked an egg, looked at the goo inside, and thought, "Yes, I will put that on my face." Egg whites were used as a kind of natural skin titer. When they dried, they pulled the skin gently, giving a temporary lift. Like a medieval version of Botox, but more omelet-scented. Women applied it before gatherings, festivals, or even church. Imagine sitting next to someone who smells faintly like breakfast. Lovely. Honey masks. The surprisingly smart one. Good news. Not everything was chaotic. Medieval people also used honey as a skin treatment, and honestly, not a bad idea. Honey kills bacteria, moisturizes, smells better than lead and egg. Slimitoisn't slowly destroy your organs. So finally, one medieval beauty trend we can compliment. Of course, it also attracted bees if you walked outside, but you can't win everything. The vinegar glow. Vinegar was used to refresh the skin. People wiped their faces with it to remove oil and dirt. Did it work? Probably a little. Did it sting? Absolutely. Medieval skincare tip of the day. If it burns, it's working. Please don't follow that advice now. Rose water and herbal steams. Medieval spa day. Some routines were surprisingly relaxing. Almost like a medieval spa. People used rose water, lavender, chamomile sage, steamed baths. Noble women sat over pots of steaming herbs with cloth tents over their heads. It softened their skin and opened their pores. If you ignore the lack of modern medical hygiene, it sounds kind of peaceful. Just imagine it. A princess sitting in a stone chamber, breathing in warm lavender steam, pretending she doesn't live in a world with rats, cold floors, and questionable plumbing. Freckle removal. The struggle was real. Some medieval folks didn't like freckles, but instead of accepting them, they tried to erase them with harsh mixtures. One recipe said, grind up onion, mix it with vinegar, rub it on your face. Another suggested, roasting snails, mixing the goo with sour milk, applying it before bed. Snail cream. Medieval edition. Beauty really requires courage, I guess. Nighttime routines were serious. We often think nighttime routines are modern TikTok inventions, but nope. Medieval nobles had their own. Before bed, they might wash with warm water, apply herbal creams, massage their faces, wrap their head in a cloth to keep skin smooth. Imagine a lady lying in her bed, wrapped like a burrito, smelling like vinegar, honey, and egg. Her husband next to her is probably thinking, beauty is a journey. Skin problems equals strange solutions. Acne, rashes, irritation. Yep, all existed back then. And so did solutions. Here are some medieval treatments. Rubbing pig fat on the skin, applying mashed cabbage, using barley paste as a mask, smearing butter over dry spots. Imagine waking up with a face full of butter. That's not skincare, that's breakfast. But through all this, there's a pattern, and it's surprisingly human, that we're separated from medieval people by hundreds of years. But when it comes to beauty, nothing has changed. They wanted to look better, feel confident, keep up with trends, impress people, hide their flaws just like we do. Maybe they had fewer tools, stranger materials, and a terrifying love for poison, but the heart behind it was the same. In the quiet of the night, in a stone-lit chamber, someone was carefully applying a cream, hoping they would look just a little better tomorrow. It's kind of sweet and kind of scary, but mostly very human. The night grows even quieter now. The kind of quiet where you can hear the soft crackle of a torch somewhere far down a dark corridor, and maybe the whisper of cold wind slipping through a half-open window. You settle deeper into the story, a little cozy, a little curious, maybe a little scared of what the Middle Ages will throw at you next. Because tonight, we talk about medieval dental care. Yes, teeth. Brace yourself. Medieval good teeth were rare. If you've ever complained about your toothbrush falling behind the sink, trust me, medieval people would trade kingdoms for what lives in your bathroom drawer. Most people didn't brush regularly, ate rough, gritty bread, had no toothpaste, believed tooth pain was caused by tiny evil creatures. We'll get to that. So when someone did have nice teeth, it was considered a small miracle dot or suspicious. Like witchcraft? Maybe. The toothworm theory, this is not a joke. Many medieval people believed cavities were caused by toothworms, tiny creatures living inside your teeth, nibbling away and causing pain. Imagine someone with a toothache lying in bed at night whispering, "I can feel the worm. It's angry." Of course, there were no worms, just bacteria. But hey, they didn't know that. Because of this belief, treatments were creative. Herbs, spices, and hope. Let's start gentle. For bad breath, people chewed mint, cloves, rosemary, parsley. Honestly, not too bad. It works, and it smells better than half the things we've talked about so far. For tooth pain, they used heated cloves, vinegar, rinse, wine rinses. The most popular, obviously, honey mixed with salt. These were the helpful ones. Then things get darker. The scary part. Dentistry. Without dentistry, there were no proper dentists for most people. So when tooth pain got unbearable, there were only two choices. Pray. Pull it out. And pulling it out meant going to a barber surgeon. Yes, barber. The same guy who cut hair also cut people. He'd sit you down, hold your jaw, say something like, "Try not to scream too much," and then use metal pliers to yank the tooth out. With zero pain relief. Not even wine worked fully. People screamed. People fainted. People regretted everything. If you're listening in bed right now, please appreciate your dentist. Take them cookies. Thank them for existing. Toothpaste recipes from another dimension. People did try to clean their teeth though. Their toothpaste included crushed eggshells, burnt rosemary, powdered salt, escargot, all ground up bones, and they'd rub it on their teeth with a cloth. Some mixtures actually worked. Others were basically medieval sandpaper. Either way, your gums were not having a good time. The whitening craze, even in medieval Europe. White teeth were a symbol of beauty. So what did they do? They used vinegar, salt, sage, ash, crushed pepper, and sometimes urine. Yes, you heard that correctly. Urine contains ammonia, which can lighten stains. But still, medieval people were committed in ways I wish they weren't. Imagine someone smiling proudly like, "Ah yes, they're shining today," while everyone else slowly steps away. The breath problem nobody talks about without modern hygiene. Almost everyone had medieval breath. You didn't mention it. You didn't joke about it. You just lived with it. People tried. Wine, mouthwash, herb chewing sticks, cloth rubs. Some nobles even carried little scented balls in their pockets to smell instead of people. It was basically the medieval version of holding your breath politely. But here's the soft part. Even with all the pain, all the strange methods, all the missing teeth, medieval people cared about their smiles just like we do. A wife might use herbs before meeting her husband. A knight would rinse his mouth before a feast. A young girl might try a homemade powder to impress someone at church. Small actions, quiet hopes. Behind every strange recipe was a human trying to look better, feel better, or just not scare their friends away. And in a world of darkness, cold stone rooms, and long winters, these tiny grooming routines brought a sense of comfort, a sense of control, a touch of softness in a harsh world. The castle grows even quieter now. Somewhere distant, a torch hums softly, and the cool night air creeps through stone cracks like a slow exhale. It's peaceful, almost too peaceful, which means it's the perfect time to talk about something not peaceful at all. Medieval body odor. Yes, tonight, we enter the world of medieval deodorant. If you're lying in bed right now, cozy and clean, prepare to feel very grateful for soap, running water, and modern anything. Bathing was complicated. Let's start here. Medieval people did bathe, just not as often as we do today. A few reasons why. Heating water took forever. Bathing required privacy, which castles didn't really offer. Winter baths were like dipping yourself into a bucket of regret. Doctors sometimes said bathing could make you sick. Don't ask. So many people washed only once a week or once a month, and some, well, let's skip those. But even without regular baths, people still wanted to smell decent, at least decent enough not to knock out their friends at dinner. Herbal scent shields. It wasn't just vanity. Not really. It was something deeper. Beauty was a language in the Middle Ages. Beauty said things that words couldn't. Smooth skin, sweet scents, pale faces, soft hands. These weren't just trends. They were messages. Messages like, "I belong. I am worthy. I am healthy." I am ready for marriage. I am part of this world. Beauty wasn't just physical.it was social.it was emotional.it was survival. Imagine a young woman preparing for a festival. She doesn't have modern makeup. She doesn't have perfume from a shop. She has herbs, maybe a little rose water, maybe some egg white or honey, and she uses them with care. Not because she wants to be perfect, but because she wants to be seen. We do the same today, don't we? Love and attraction in a hard world. Life in the Middle Ages was difficult. Cold winters, hard work, sickness, uncertainty. People didn't always have control over life. But beauty, grooming, that was something they could control. When a young man brushed his hair and tied it neatly before meeting someone he liked, that was hope. When a woman smoothed a little cream on her skin before a feast, that was courage. These tiny rituals were moments of softness in a world that wasn't soft at all. And in the glow of candlelight, surrounded by music and chatter, those small efforts mattered. A medieval wedding. Morning, picture this. A bride wakes up early on her wedding day. Her room smells of lavender and wood smoke. Her clothes are neatly folded at the foot of her bed. She sits in front of a polished metal mirror, and two women help her prepare. Brushing her hair, slowly weaving herbs into it, washing her face with warm rose water, tying ribbons into her sleeves, placing a perfumed cloth inside her dress. She isn't thinking about poison creams or painful waxing. She's thinking about the man waiting for her to she's thinking about the life she's about to start. Her beauty routine is not a chore, it's a prayer. A night preparing for a feast. Now, imagine a young knight before a grand feast. He washes his hands, cleans his face, oils his hair, puts on clean linen. He wants to look proper, not for vanity, but for honor. He wants to walk into the hall smelling of herbs instead of sweat, looking strong instead of tired. In a world where reputation mattered more than anything, grooming wasn't luxury. It was duty. Even warriors cared about their appearance, because appearance shaped how people saw you and how they treated you. Beauty as a door to confidence. Think about this. When a medieval woman put on a herbal fragrance before walking into a crowded market, she walked a little taller. When a young man combed his hair and cleaned his hands before meeting someone's family, he felt more confident. We forget sometimes that medieval people were just people. People with insecurities, people who wanted to be loved, people who worried about how they looked, people who wished to feel attractive, respected, noticed. Beauty routines gave them that. Even the painful ones. Even the strange ones. A world lit by firelight. The castle halls glow in the warm light of torches. Stone walls rise like giants around you. Far away, someone is laughing at a feast. Another person is whispering a prayer in a small chapel. A guard hums quietly as he walks the ramparts. Life is happening all around. And somewhere in the middle of it, a young medieval girl is rubbing lavender on her wrist. A baker is washing flour from his arms. A noblewoman is brushing her long hair before bed. A peasant is scrubbing his hands after a long day in the fields. Small rituals, small moments. All of them connected by one very simple truth. People wanted to feel human. The shared heart across centuries. As strange as medieval beauty rituals were, as painful or funny or dangerous as some sounded, they were born from the same place your routines come from. We clean our faces, fix our hair, choose clothes, add small touches, prepare for the day, unwind at night, because these actions make us feel good, feel grounded, feel like ourselves. And when you zoom out across time, you see something quietly beautiful. The people of the Middle Ages were not so different from us. They wanted love, they wanted confidence, they wanted acceptance, they wanted to feel attractive in their own world. Just like you, just like everyone. The night's final quiet moment. The torches burn low now. The stone walls feel warmer. Outside the castle window, the stars hold steady in the dark sky. You've walked through every strange, surprising, painful, and fascinating grooming ritual the medieval world had to offer. But in the end, you found something else too. A connection, a gentleness, a reminder that across hundreds of years, beauty has always been less about appearance and more about the human heart. The Middle Ages may be gone, but the emotions behind their rituals are still alive in us. And so, as the medieval night settles fully around you, let your mind rest. Let your thoughts drift. That you've traveled far into the past and learned something real about both them and yourself.